Hi, this is Jennifer from Read It Again. Come join me while I read the second half of The Whale from the Lighthouse Family series by Cynthia Rylant. Please consider subscribing, and if you enjoyed this book, hit the like button and share this video with all your friends. Part 2 of The Whale from the Lighthouse Family series by Cynthia Rylant. Illustrated by Preston McDaniels. Chapter 4, Some Company. When Huck and the children had disappeared into the faraway sky, Pandora turned back toward the lighthouse and climbed the stairs to find Seabold in the tower. The dog's face was pressed close to the window. "Did I just see Whistler and Lila fly by?" he asked. "You did," said Pandora. "They are going to help Huck find the mother." Seabold smiled. "What an adventure for two children," he said. Seabold truly loved adventure. "I told Huck he must have them home by nightfall," said Pandora. "Of course," answered Seabold. "And what of the baby?" he asked. "She's asleep in the cottage," said Pandora. No, said Seabold. "The other baby." "Oh," Pandora smiled. "The other baby is still resting in the lagoon, waiting for his mother." Said Seabold. "I expect he must be feeling a little lonely." "Yes," said Pandora. "And a little afraid," added Seabold. "Yes." "I think I shall go keep him company," said Seabold, starting for the stairs. "What did you say his name was?" he called halfway down. "Sebastian," answered Pandora. She listened as Seabold descended to the bottom and went out the door, and she smiled in deep satisfaction to have a friend so kind. Pandora then returned to the cottage to make a stew and to watch over Tiny. When Seabold reached the lagoon, the baby whale was swimming in circles. "Hello, Sebastian," called Seabold. The whale stopped and put his head out of the water to look. "Hello," he answered in a small, sad voice. "Who are you?" The dog smiled and saluted. "I am Seabold," he said, "once a sailor of the sea, now the keeper of a lighthouse and 3 small mice." "Lila and Whistler," said Sebastian, perking up. "And their baby sister Tiny," said Seabold. "And indeed, Lila and Whistler are off to find your mother." "Oh, good," said Sebastian, "for I miss her so much." The small whale looked as if he might cry at any moment. Seabold could see that he must do something. "Do you like tricks?" he asked the whale. Sebastian brightened. "Yes," he said. "I have a trick," said Seabold, and he stood on his head. The little whale thumped his tail on the water with delight. "That was very good," he told Seabold. "And do you have a trick?" asked the dog. The whale thought for a moment. "Yes," he said, and he dove under the water. He was gone several moments, and just as Seabold was beginning to worry and to think of diving in, the baby surfaced. He gave a big, full spray of water from his spout, and there on top bounced a very surprised crab. "Hey!" said the crab. Sebastian stopped spraying, and the crab, mumbling and griping, swam back under. Seabold laughed and clapped his paws. "That was a good one," he said. Sebastian smiled shyly. He liked this dog, Seabold. "And now," said Seabold, drawing nearer the edge of the water to settle upon a rock, "would you like to hear a story?" "A story?" asked Sebastian. "Oh, yes." He swam very near. "Then I shall tell you a wonderful story," said Seabold. He leaned forward. "Once upon a time there was a brave baby beluga named Sebastian." The little whale's eyes shone and a smile spread across his face. He grew very quiet and listened. Chapter 5, The Mother. While Seabold was telling Sebastian all about the about the brave baby beluga. Two other children were also being very brave, and also not having much luck. Whistler and Lila, holding tight to Huck's back, were searching and searching the sea, and this was not easy. The ocean is vast, and even a whale will be but a speck in its waters. And if you are searching through tiny mouse eyes from the back of an old cormorant, your job will be especially hard. "Oh dear," said Lila after they had searched for what seemed several hours. "How will we ever find her?" Whistler peered down toward the miles and miles of open sea. "We will," he said. "But what if we don't?" asked Lila. "We will," said Whistler. "What's all that yakking back there?" yelled Huck. It was so windy Huck could barely hear the small voices on his back. "Lila says she sure will find the mother," yelled Whistler, grinning at his sister. Lila could not help grinning back. "Who's got a brother?" yelled Huck. Whistler just laughed and shook his head, and they all kept searching. Another hour passed, and another, and yet another. And as the two children and the old bird stayed in the air longer and longer, the cormorant's age began to show. His flapping slowed, his flying wobbled, and sometimes he lost altitude, and Lila was sure they were about to crash. "Are you okay?" Whistler would yell. "Did what today?" Huck would yell back. Whistler and Lila exchanged worried looks and held tighter to the old bird's back. The day was growing darker. They had to be home by night, and there still was no mother. And now with Huck wheezing and wobbling and... "Look!" yelled Lila. "Where?" asked Whistler. "Out there!" Lila pointed. "Way out there," she said firmly. "I don't see anything," said Whistler. "I do," said Lila. She crawled close to Huck's ear. "Turn left, Huck," she shouted. "Left, toward the horizon." "You don't have to yell," complained the bird. "I can hear just fine." He turned left and flew. Keep going, said Lila. "They're out there." "Who?" asked Whistler, trying hard to see what Lila saw. "The whole pod," said Lila. "The whole pod of belugas." And sure enough, as Huck covered the water, all three began to see a marvelous pod of white whales swimming and spouting up ahead. "Hooray!" shouted Whistler. When they were finally above the whales, Whistler called to one. "May we land?" he called. "Excuse me?" the whale replied. "May we land on your back?" Whistler called. "Pardon me?" said the whale. "Oh, posh," said Huck, and he simply did it. He landed on the whale's back. "Hey," said the whale. "Don't worry," said Whistler, climbing off Huck's back and onto the whale's. "We're just looking for a beluga named Honey. We found her baby." "You found Honey's baby?" cried the whale. "Oh, joy!" "Marilyn," the beluga called to the whale in front of him. "They found Honey's baby." "Honey's baby?" said Marilyn. "Freddie," she called to the beluga in front of her. "They found Honey's baby." And so the calling went through the pod, one whale to the next, until Honey, Sebastian's poor, frantic, unhappy mother, was found. She swam to the mouse children. "We've been searching everywhere," Honey told Whistler and Lila. "Everywhere." Her eyes filled up with tears. "Is my baby all right?" she asked. "He's great," said Whistler. "He's at our house." "Your house?" asked Honey. "You'll see," said Whistler. "Just follow us. Hurry." He climbed back up on Huck. "Let's go, Huck," said Whistler. "Let's go," said Lila, climbing up. And Huck tried to go. He wanted to go. He flapped his feeble wings and worked to go, but he just couldn't. "I'm all out of gas, kids," Huck said with a tired old wheeze. These old bones aren't going to make it." He gave a heavy sigh. "You go on and ride back with Honey. I'll stay out here tonight and rest up." "Go back without you?" cried Lila. "Never," said Whistler. "You're the hero, Huck," said Lila, patting his old head. "You have to come back with us. In fact, we won't leave without you." Huck frowned, though deep down he was happy. "I will gladly give all of you a ride," said Honey. Huck continued to frown. "Please, Huck," said Lila. "Sir," said Honey, "I am very anxious to see my baby, so I must ask you, please. You have done your noble duty." Huck liked that word, noble, very much. All right, he grumbled, settling down on Honey's back. "I just hope no pelicans see me." "We'll tell them you're a hero, Huck," said Whistler. "Our hero," said Lila. Huck coughed and hacked and tried his very best not to smile. But he did anyway, just a little. Then they all journeyed home on the back of a whale. Chapter 6, A Friend Forever. Pandora was wise enough to keep the lamp burning in the lighthouse just in case Huck and the children were unable to keep their promise to be home before dark. And indeed it was the light that helped Honey find her way to the correct shore and to the lagoon where her little one waited. When the mother whale swam nearer the lagoon, she and her passengers saw a wonderful sight. Pandora and Seabold were sitting on top of a rock, tiny, perched in Seabold's cap, and they were feeding the baby whale big spoonfuls of vegetable stew. "Sebastian!" called the mother beluga. The little whale's head turned. "Mama!" he cried, bits of carrot falling from his mouth. Oh, it was a joyous reunion. Huck flew off the whale's back and deposited the mice children safely on shore, where they were hugged tight again and again. And the happy beluga mother and son swam around and around, nudging heads close, nestling their bodies together, clicking and singing and laughing. When all the hellos were over and the time had finally come for goodbyes, Whistler asked, "Baby Sebastian, will you ever come back to see us?" "I will always come back to see you," answered Sebastian. "I'm your friend forever." And with that, their deepest thanks, Mother Whale and Baby swam off to join their pod. It was night now, and suddenly the mouse children felt so very weary. "Pandora, is there any more stew?" asked Whistler. "Plenty more," answered Pandora. "Plenty for everyone, including you, our good friend Huck." The old bird coughed and shook his feathers. "No need to bother," he said. "It's no bother, Huck," said Seabold. "Why, a bowl of stew is the least we can do for your noble effort today." There was that word again, that word that Huck liked so much. Noble. "Please come with us, Huck," said Lila, taking the old bird's wing. So they all walked back to the cottage, where Pandora and Seabold ladled out big, thick bowls of stew, and watched with pleasure as the old bird and the children ate and ate and ate. After supper, Huck was given Seabold's favorite chair to rest his wings before going home. But the old cormorant fell asleep and would not wake until morning. The three mouse children lovingly tucked into their warm sock bed by the fire, were also asleep before Pandora could even kiss them good night. And out in the vast dark waters of the ocean, a mother and baby were family again. Soon they would join their larger family amid those happy calls with which lost ones are always welcomed home. For everyone, it had been quite an adventurous day.